So I have this example of stack bar chart. We are showing market share comparison data. So we are showing brand market shares for 10 brands in 2 markets plus other. The stack bars are really good at showing a lot of data in a compact format like this one. However, the moment we start comparing one stack bar with another, it starts getting difficult to visually compare values. As an example, let's take brand 4. Now brand 4 3% is here, while as 9% for brand 4 for the second market is here. So our eye has to jump back and forth to compare values whenever data is shown like this. One more thing is right at the bottom here, we have this sliver of the data for other. It's actually 1% and we can barely see that with our naked eyes. That's because 1% is too small compared to the other percentages. So that's another drawback of the stack bar chart. So if you are tired of using the traditional stack bar chart, or if you want to improve your visuals a notch, I have a better suggestion. We can show the same data in this bubble chart format. So if I compare the previous chart with the bubble chart side by side, you can notice that our bubble chart here is a lot cleaner, simple, and modern looking. We can compare the brand percentages side by side versus having to go up and down in this chart. Also, the relative sizes of percentages are clearly identified. So just at a glance, we can see what's the biggest percentage and what's the smallest. So if you are interested in using this chart, I can show you how it's made. Let's look at the data sheet of this chart to understand how this chart is set up. So right click, edit data. Now here, as you'll notice, we have 2 columns for 2 markets. So in the first column, under XY values, we have one that represents the first column and the 2 that's for the second column. In the second column under Y values, we have numbers from 1 through 11, which represents these brands from 1 through 11, with 11 being other. And then we are repeating this again for the second column. In the third column, we are showing the actual percentages. So 10% here, you can notice it's here. And the 49% for the second column is right here. So once you get the hang of how the data is set up, this chart is quite easy to make. Let's make this from scratch. Let's go to Insert, click on Chart, go to XY Scatter, click on this second chart from right called Bubble, click OK. I have my data on the left hand side. So in the first column, we need 1 to be repeated 11 times and then 2 to be repeated 11 times as well. In the second column, we need values from 1 through 11 for our brands. We need the same repeated for the second column. And in the third column, we need to paste in our values for percentages. So I'm just going to copy market 1 values, paste them in like so. For the second market, we need to paste our values here. Okay, you will notice that our values are currently flipped. So we have 10% and 49% at the bottom. We need that to be at the top. So double click on our vertical axis. On the right hand side, locate values in reverse order. Click on it and that should flip our values. Let's make a few more edits. We don't need the chart title, so delete that. We can edit our vertical axis. So we can limit our maximum value from 14 to 12 because there is nothing extending beyond the line for 12. So double click on vertical axis, go to axis options, and under maximum, change the value to 12. We can also change our horizontal axis to go from 0 to 3 so that it looks symmetrical. Right now, I think the space on the left hand side is slightly bigger compared to the right. So we can fix that. Double click on the x-axis, change the maximum value to 3. Right now, if we see the grid lines between numbers 0 to 2, 2 to 4 are missing. So let's add that. Double click on the vertical axis. Under units, change the major units to 1 and that should add these grid lines in between. We don't need the vertical axis anymore, so click on it once and delete. Let's get rid of the horizontal axis as well. We don't need the vertical grid lines, so click on it once and press delete. Let's add in our chart labels. So I'm just going to copy these values from the table, paste them in, align them with our chart like so. Let's increase the font size so we can see better. Let me add a white color to the background. The next step is to add colors to our bubbles. So I'm just going to copy this color palette from my previous slide, paste it here so that we can change our colors quickly. So let's change this to a green. Now this process takes time the first time because we have to manually change the colors for every single bubble. So let me just speed this through. Okay, I have added in my colors. However, one problem you will notice is that we have this value behind this large green circle that's hard to see. To fix that, we will have to add transparency to all these colors. So the way we do that is click on the bubble, go to Shape Fill, under Fill, locate Transparency, and add in a shape fill of say 50%. Repeat that. Okay, once I have added the transparency, one last thing that's remaining is adding the labels for each of our columns. So I'm going to call the column 1 Market 1. Copy that text box here. And that's pretty much it for our bubble chart. So it can be a tedious process to construct a bubble chart like so at the beginning. However, if you are going to reuse this again, then it doesn't require as much work because essentially your colors and everything would be set up. So it shouldn't take that longer the second time. Now let's look at a few more examples where you can use a similar format. We can also do the same thing with a horizontal bar chart or a column chart. If we look at the chart, we have 11 features of product A and B being compared side by side. Same thing here. If we are to show this data in a bubble chart format, it would look like this. You can see that our bubble chart looks a lot more cleaner and visual. One more example we can look at is another stack bar chart with fewer values. So here we just have 3 values in a stack bar chart. If we were to turn this into a bubble chart, it could look like this. One caveat I have for you here, if you notice, the values are adding up to 100%. Now I would recommend you use this format if your values are adding up to 100%. The reason is that if we have too many large values, we will have too many large bubbles overlapping and the data will just get messy and difficult to follow. Because right now our data is limited to a total of 100%, we would have 1 or 2 large values, but remaining values would be smaller. So that would leave a lot of room for our bubbles to be seen clearly, like in this example. So use this chart as long as your values are limited to a total of 100% for each. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe for future videos, and I will catch you next time.